Well, listeners, as we now near the end of the year, we are in the festive season, of course, getting towards the end of that year, a calendar year, a time for us to now turn over the page, turn over the leaf, and start fresh. In other words, we're going to start fresh and going to reset and get underway. But what should you do as a leader in this festive season as we approach the end of the year? Let's discuss.
Welcome to Leadership is Changing. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change. This is taking your leadership to another level by finding the balance between executive excellence and personal well-being through stories that inspire real change. It's time to adapt in our fast-moving world when leadership is changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas.
Hey, welcome to the Ask Denis episode. This is a freestyle episode where I'm asked a question by our listeners, or I share my thoughts and experiences and insights from working with many leaders around the globe. As I said in my opening here, it's the end of the year, it's going towards there. This is time for you now to put your foot on the accelerator and bring the year home strong. While at the same time, it's really important for you to set some things up as a leader in finishing the year and starting the brand new year ahead. Well, it's interesting because we should be finishing the year off hard. We should be going and doing what we need to do to get things over the line. Too many people are probably giving up already. But if you're very close to your goal, in fact, if you're halfway to your goal, what else can you do in the next 10 days, 1 week, whatever amount of time you've got left in this year to bring it home strong? Now, it is time for you as a leader, as an individual, as a person, to take time out to celebrate the festive season with family and friends. And I know that many of our listeners around the world, some do celebrate Christmas and others don't. Others do celebrate the end of the year and the new year, and others may look at it differently as well. So from every kind of background, what we do know is that from a calendar year, it is coming to an end. It is a time for you to turn the page and get underway with other things that you're wanting to do. Now, we know that parts of the world are in different kinds of season. In the Northern Hemisphere, you're probably experiencing a white Christmas in some areas. In the Southern Hemisphere, you're probably experiencing the white sand on the beach. And so it's a little bit different. Of course, in this part of the world where I am, in New Zealand, we are going to be having barbecues and a very warm, hot summer, and it is getting hotter by the day as we get into the actual year. But wherever you are, the time is now for you to rest, time for you to recharge your batteries. It's time for us to refocus. It's time for us to reflect on the year that's been, and what we've learnt and what we've seen and what we've done very well. But it's also time for us to reset. And as a leader, there are certain things that you can be doing between now and the end of the calendar year as we go into the new year. I actually find it's time, and it's the best time of the year, for you to set some new goals for the year coming ahead. Now, for those of you who are experiencing Christmas, there may be a little bit of a shutdown within your organization, within your own business, and you may be taking some time out to, as I said, spend time with family and friends. But it's also a great time to set the goals for the new year. Now, what I would always say to my customers and my clients is this, is that we are finishing this year, but we're also going to finish the year ahead of us before we even start it. What do I mean? I want you to start to think about setting goals and seeing yourself finishing those goals in the calendar year ahead. Now, for some of you have different financial years, that's all great, but we all got this new calendar year starting. And so if you can think about that, would be important for you to think about. Now, the goals, please don't make them boring, because these are goals that are going to be inspiring to you, and there's going to have some emotional attachment to it to help you get out there and do what you need to do to bring those goals to life. What do I mean? Well, if you think about a movie title or a book title, some of those have got some really cool titles that sort of like, they will catch you, or they will emotionally pull at those strings on your heart and about the things that you're wanting to do. Because you see, when it does get hard, if we don't have strong goals, if we don't have clarity around where we're going, if we don't have that movie title or that book title to describe what that end picture of that goal looks like, then it's very hard. Here's an example of one. Of a leader I was working with. He had some major programs that he was working on, his team was working on, but he wanted to just get things over the line. Now, for the guy, he loved rugby. And with the game of rugby, he thought about how does he get across the line to score the try and to actually have the winning try. And so for him to win the game. So then what he did was he actually thought about how can I actually pull this together. So his goal was to actually get the ball across the line and win the game. Now to him, that was really quite exciting about him and him thinking or seeing himself scoring the try and getting the ball over the line. For another one who I work with around fitness, they talked about how they are getting older, but they needed to become fitter. And one way to think about it was if you think about a car, that the car every 6 months to a year, depending where you are around the world, you would need to go in to see a mechanic and to make sure that the car had a warrant of fitness. For the individual I work with, the goal wasn't just to lose 10 kgs or 30 or 40 pounds. It was really important for them to turn around and make sure that they had a world-class warrant of fitness with them in their body. And so in other words, they were going to make sure they had a really good warrant of fitness. Every single person's title of the movie or the book is going to be different. I'm going to encourage you to think about what is your title of your movie or your book in relation to your goal. The next thing would be for you to plan out your year ahead. Here's one thing for you to think about. Start off with the holidays that you want to take in the year ahead. Book them in to your calendar now. The next thing would be about major milestones or events that you're wanting to do or projects, and think about those and putting those into your planner, your calendar, whatever you use. You see, you want to hit the road running. A lot of people are going to go on holiday right now. Some are going to come back early January and get underway. Some are going to come back like in the Southern Hemisphere. They're not coming back to mid to late January. And some of them aren't even going to think about goals until February. Hey, that's 1 month already gone, if not 1.5 months gone by the time they get things underway mid-February. So I would encourage you to really put things in place and start thinking about things so then you can hit the new year and hit that road running and getting whatever you want to get. Well, listeners, what a year it's been. And my business grew and we got new clients on board. I had some and when I have some downtime, I love it because that's when I start to become even more creative. And I spend time to do new programs, new models, new blueprints and things like that. And of course, taking something that I've been doing for a while, but putting it into a model called the Executive Success Blueprint. And there's 3 pillars to it. And under each pillar, there are 3 focus areas. And it's fantastic. So we're looking at launching that more and making that available for leaders globally as well. The other thing too is that, of course, episode 500, and we got to celebrate that with our guest, Rhonda Viteri, who was a global CIO, or still is, and is a STEM ambassador, does an Ironman 70.3, a fantastic lady who is in the top 50 CIOs globally, women CIOs. And so it was superb to have Rhonda on the show as a guest. The other thing too is that, of course, I got to co-author a book with 14 other entrepreneurs, and it became an Amazon #1 seller. And so that's really exciting. So that's the Circle of Excellence, and yeah, really cool book. The other thing too is I got time to spend in Australia creating a speaker show reel. And of course, we're having a new website being created right now. So look out for the new website in the new year, but also look out for the speaker show reel when we start to actually launch that in the new year as well. So there are more things to come next year that I'm excited about. But of course, the focus is going to be around helping leaders like you find your voice. Keynote speaking, facilitation, and coaching with various people. But also we're thinking about setting up communities and doing other things with leaders that we will announce throughout the year. So to listeners and to our clients, to our guests and to the support crew, thank you so much for everything that you've done in helping and supporting our business and our podcast and everything that we do here as well. I'm going to take a small break and be back on top of things in the new year, very soon in the new year. But I'm going to take a small break, and so you'll see a little bit of a gap over the next week or so with the Leadership is Changing podcast. But don't worry, because we'll be recording, we'll be getting things ready, because the production team needs some time out as well, and so they're taking a very small break as well. Well, there you go, listeners. I'm going to wish you and your families a happy festive season, a Merry Christmas to those celebrating Christmas, and a Happy New Year to you all. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Listeners, that's it for this episode. It's always a pleasure being with you. Thanks for joining me on the Leadership is Changing podcast. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Leadership is Changing with your host, Denis Giannoutsas. Each week, we and our guests provide information and insights through exploring leading change, inspiring executives and leaders to adapt and lead a bigger game in a fast-moving world.